Welcome back in. Jason Priester, allClemsonTigers.com, part of the Clemson Maven multimedia platform. I'm going to talk some more recruiting today. Four-star offensive lineman William Satterwhite commits to Tennessee over Clemson. Been a two-team battle for a while. Satterwhite, we're talking about a top 200 talent guy, probably one of the better offensive line prospects in the country. A legitimate talent along the offensive line. Picked up his offer from Clemson back in the spring after an unofficial visit, returned to Clemson for the big official visit weekend. Coming out of that weekend, told me that Clemson was at the top of his list in his top two. Obviously, that other school was Tennessee. Those are the only two schools he visited. You had to feel really good about where Clemson stood coming out of that visit. They seemed to be in prime condition to land him. Just going to have to hold off Tennessee while he takes that final visit toward the end of June. Well, he goes to Knoxville, takes that visit, and they take all the momentum, make up the gap, and then some. Again, he commits to the Volunteers today. Kind of the way it's gone with Clemson offensive line recruiting, not just in this cycle, but, a lot of times over the years. I think Thomas Austin has done a pretty dang good job, especially considering what he got in his first class. We'll see what he ends up with in this class. But until Clemson develops a better track record, maybe of putting guys into the league, maybe developing some higher round picks, offensive line recruiting might be a hit or miss type deal, especially until Austin gets a little more established in that role there. It's still only his second season. I think he is, again, I think he's done a remarkable job so far, but still, he's still fairly young in that role. I think he's building something there, though, and I think that tide's turning. But it's going to have to play out over time. Next up for Clemson, is Fletcher Westphal. He announces on Monday, took visits to Clemson, Georgia, Arkansas, Florida. Talked to him after his official visit to Clemson, and I think he's the perfect fit from a cultural standpoint for everything, Dabo Swinney likes that football program to represent. I think Westphal is that guy. Doesn't mean he's going to land at Clemson, but I just think he's the right kind of fit. Do think the Tigers have really positioned themselves well. We'll see if they can finish it off on Monday. After that, you got Casey Poe announcing on the 12th. I think he's Bama bound. Jamison Riggs will probably announce sometime in July. Clemson, Auburn, Georgia Tech. I would go with the field over Clemson at this point, but we'll see what Clemson decides to do regarding expanding the board. The cookout's coming up at the end of the month. Do they have somebody already in mind and maybe try to get them on hand for that event, or do they take it a little slower and, see what's out there after the season starts? I don't know how that's going to play out just yet. It ought to make for an entertaining few weeks if you follow those kind of things, But again, William Satterwhite commits to Tennessee over Clemson. You win some, you lose some. It's just the name of the game in the recruiting landscape. I remember a conversation I had with Satterwhite after his first visit to Clemson, back in the spring, and asked him what he was, some of the things he was looking for in a school. And he talked about academics. He talked about coaching, development. Didn't mention playing time, early playing time, or anything like that. Some of his later interviews that I've read, he's talked about early playing time, getting on the field early. Tennessee's going to have some turnover along that offensive line over the next couple of years, probably more so than Clemson's going to have. So he's probably going to have some opportunities to, in fact, do that. I'm sure they sold that hard, and that's a big selling point with a lot of these kids. So anyways, on to the next guy again. Fletcher Westphal announces on Monday. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Check us out, allClemsonTigers.com. We'll see y'all next time.